All right, so chapter 17, fraud in e-commerce. This is actually the last module in this course, so you won't be watching this until November, but we're filming this in September. So yeah, so I'm going to present the first half of this lecture, and Brock is going to present the second. So just to get things started, e-commerce is defined as a transaction completed over a computer network that involves a transfer of rights and ownerships to use goods and services. So these transactions are not required to have a price. So this can include free items like free download. And e-business includes e-commerce, but it's a little bit broader in scope. So e-business can work for any business because it involves the whole business cycle and not just the transfer of goods. So just a quick background on fraud in e-commerce. E-business uses information technology and electronic communication networks to communicate business information, and many businesses connect with each other using virtual private networks. Many transactions involve the internet that we don't actively think involve the internet. So for instance, when you go to Publix and you scan your credit card and you buy your groceries, that transaction is actually occurring over the internet. And because businesses rely so heavily on the internet, many fraud examiners are consulted specifically for fraud information related to e-commerce. So it's a good area to specialize in because there's definitely going to be a growing need for it going forward. And while specific tasks used to detect e-business fraud may vary, the process used to investigate e-business fraud is the same as other frauds. So the fraud triangle still very much applies. So this is the fraud triangle. I guess this one's a Venn diagram, but yeah, that we've seen a bunch of times in this class. So very much the same for e-commerce as it is for other types of fraud. So e-commerce, risks inside organizations. And this is a lovely man propelling down. Yeah. So traditional fraud involves the theft of money. With an electronic environment, data theft is generally what's stolen. So people might think that this isn't quite as horrible because money isn't being stolen, but it's equally concerning because this data can be really easily converted to cash using secondary transactions. So let's say someone can get a hold of your bank routing number, your social security number. This can be really easily converted into cash. It's easily replicable with little trail left behind. So the original data can still be there and someone can make a copy of that data. And it's really hard to even determine if someone has made a copy of the data. And it's easy to transfer to any location in the world. Many people lack technical expertise to prevent and detect fraud. So this leaves those who understand how it works more unchecked. So a lot of e-commerce fraud is an inside job, and many of the most serious e-commerce fraud risks are found within organizations. It's a lot easier for insiders to be able to gain access behind firewalls and security checks than an outsider would. And programmers and technical support specialists are usually granted admin access when they create a system. And a lot of times, once the system is running and in place, they forget to revoke these admin accesses. So programmers and technical support specialists will have access much longer than they should. And one survey found that over a third of network administrators admitted to snooping. So people looking at your salary, compensation, bonuses, hire and fire lists, stuff like that. So passwords. Passwords are often left to the end user, which makes them the Achilles heel of many systems because they can't be fully controlled. So some issues with passwords, employees write them on a sticky note and they'll leave them in really obvious places like under a keyboard or somewhere else that's just really easy to find. Employees reuse passwords for multiple sites, so the chance that someone is going to be using the same password for maybe their Wells Fargo account as they are for Facebook. When corporate policies require periodic password changes, many users will just add a sequential number, another character. So like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then add a 6. And this is the 25 most common passwords for 2016. My favorite was number 12. So social engineering is tricking people into giving away information rather than directly hacking the system. Some notable examples of this would be maybe impersonating a tech specialist or clever emails asking for login credentials. A lot of times they'll present a little bit of information and then they'll probe for more. So like, let's say they already have access to maybe the last 4 digits of your social security number. They can use that information to then get you to divulge more information. All right, and now we are going to play a quick video.
I invited a few of the world's best hackers to try to hack me and show me where my vulnerabilities are. And now I'm going to meet them in Las Vegas for DEF CON, the biggest hacker convention of the year. They're going to hack me using social engineering, which is essentially hacking without any code. They just use a phone and an internet connection.
Do you want to do a sample phishing call?
What's phishing?
Phishing is voice solicitation, and basically what you do is you use the phone to extract information or data points that can be used in a later attack.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Who are you going to call?
Maybe I'll call your cell phone provider and
Okay.
see if I can get them to give me your email address.
I bet they're good. I bet they have my back. But yeah, go for it.
I'm going to spoof from your number, so it's going to look like it's calling from you.
Okay.
Hi, I'm so sorry. Can you hear me okay? My baby, I'm sorry. my husband's like, we're about to apply for a loan and we just had a baby and he's like, get this done by today. So I'm so sorry. I can't call you back. I'm trying to log into our account for uses information and I can't remember what email address we used to log the account. The baby's crying and can you help me? Awesome.
In just 30 seconds,
At gmail.com?
Jessica gets access to my personal email address.
Now, if I needed to add our older daughter on our account so she could call in and make changes, how would I need to go about doing that? You would have to send me a secure PIN through a text message? Yeah, well, the thing is, I don't think I'll be able to receive a text message if I'm on the phone. Shh. Oh, I'm not on there either? So I thought when we got married, he added me to the account.
Jess uses my girlfriend's name and a fake social security number
5127.
to set up her own personal access to my account.
Wait, I'm sorry, so there's no password on my account right now? Can I set that up?
She even gets the support person to change my password.
Thank you so much for your help today.
So she just basically blocked me out of my own account.
I'll get her fed after this. All right, thank you.
Holy shit. So they just gave you access to my entire cell phone account.
You're gonna have to go on and change your password now because it's Jess, my name.
And all it took was a crying baby and a phone call.
Yeah.
So some additional risks, sniping. So this is logging, filtering, and viewing of information that passes along a network line. And it's the most common method of gathering information from unencrypted communications, such as email. So it's typically used for troubleshooting network problems, but the capabilities can definitely be abused. Employee laptops and mobile devices present a really big problem. So a really big issue is when employees connect to unprotected environments on their work laptops. And also another issue with that is having the employee laptops or mobile devices stolen. War trapping, so this is when hackers will go to a known business location, such as an airport or an airport lounge, and they'll set up an access point, and the access point will be disguised to look like a free official wireless network that the airport is providing. So travelers will open up their laptops and their wireless cards are going to connect automatically to these internet access points, which opens them up to vulnerabilities. So one of the examples in the book was the iPod example. So when iPods first came out, they were actually used occasionally to steal data. And if you think about it, an iPod is just an external hard drive that looks really innocuous. So customers were going to electronic stores, plugging in the iPods to demo computers, and then stealing software like Microsoft Office. All right, so for this half of the lecture, I'm actually going to pass it off to Brock. Yeah.
Hey everyone, I'm Brock, and I'm going to be talking about some of the risks that occur outside the organization relating to e-commerce. So a current example that relates to risks in e-commerce is Equifax. The US government allows you to get free credit reporting from each of the 3 reporting agencies, Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion, once every 12 months. In early September, hackers were able to access personal data of 143 million Equifax customers, which is more than 40% of the entire US population. some of the information hackers were able to access included names, social security numbers, birth dates, addresses, and even some driver's license numbers. There have been many lawsuits levied against Equifax and more to come. This is a case similar to Target, where tens of millions of customers had their credit card numbers and addresses stolen, but this is much worse. Punishments for hackers have been generally light since this is considered a white-collar crime. Our opinion is that officials really wanted to deter hacking, the punishment would be much, much harsher. It's possible that sentencing is lenient because this is a relatively new fraud. Maybe the law needs some time to catch up with technological changes. So here are some specific types of outside risks. Spyware is one where you go to download software onto your computer. The software downloads, but this spyware, which is software that monitors you while you're on your computer, also downloads along with it. The information obtained by this spyware is then sold to companies who it might be useful to. Phishing, no, it's not when you go out with your grandpa in the summer. This is where emails are sent to you in creative ways that impersonate companies that you've done business with, your family, and they're trying to get personal information from you. Another type of risk is spoofing, where hackers change the header of an email where they are trying to obtain unauthorized access. A lot of spam mail has forged headers like this. SQL is another example. Hackers can send a database command after regular data in an online submission form. The command can be used to insert an unauthorized record, which gives the hacker access. XXS is another example where hackers inject JavaScript into browser commands on a website. Some common examples are the redirection of users to a fake website and hijacking user information this way. Here's an example of a phishing email that's trying to impersonate Amazon. Some ways to prevent fraud in e-commerce. Prevention fallacy is where security holes, encryption algorithms, and processes are kept secret in an attempt to confuse attackers. This tactic is referred to as security through obscurity. This tactic has had the reverse effect. It heightens the challenge for hackers and causes them to be even more interested in cracking the puzzle. Here's what the control environment in e-business looks like. Looking at our triangle, the first three levels from the bottom up, control environment, risk assessment, and control activities, are the most relevant in running an e-business. The tone at the top, also monitoring, is the most important factor in maintaining control effectiveness. Some major control activities relating to e-commerce. Ensuring that adequate separation of duties is prevalent in the organization. Issues arise when employees have too much control over transactions. Another example is the proper authorization of transactions and activities. Some of the most common authorization controls are passwords, firewalls, digital signatures, certificates, and biometrics. E-commerce needs to also maintain adequate documentation and records. Because traditional document controls aren't available in e-commerce, additional controls are needed. The primary document control is encryption. Maintaining physical control over assets and records is also important. Generally, e-commerce utilizes third-party providers so they can have more data storage. These third parties typically take security matters very seriously and act as an extra layer of protection. Independent checks on performance are also important. Detecting e-business fraud. Some of the technical measures used to detect fraud are maintaining adequate IT knowledge and knowledge of computer science networking, knowledge of web servers, email servers, and intrusion programs. The more employees with computer expertise, the better. Using computer scripts to monitor logs and systems for potential break-ins, and then using the information from these scripts to monitor transactions to detect fraud more quickly. Some of the social preventions and detection methods are audits that involve monitoring how users interact with systems, training employees what e-commerce fraud looks like. They can't detect it if they don't know what it looks like, and implementing tip lines or whistleblowing programs so employees can report fraud. And that's it.